Welcome to Yury Experience, and today I want to talk to you about representation. Representation is basically if a person of some specific group is in some specific position where people can look up to that person. And we are overall people who like to see similarities, to find commonalities between us and other people in order to create maybe targets or understand I'm not in the worst position possible, there's always a way to go deeper or higher or whatnot. And because of that, we also behave ourselves differently depending on whether we are currently in the group that we belong to or we don't belong to. That's actually what I will cover first. Like, does our belonging to the group actually matters? How does it influence our life? What groups are there? And does representation actually matter? Or does it not? Or maybe some or both, I don't know. Let's start. But before we start, I have to tell you that this is Yury Experience and I'm Yury. Here I share my various experiences about different topics, and I do 2 videos per week, Mondays and Thursdays. If you will enjoy this video, please drop a like. You can also subscribe to the channel. Let us start. First, what groups do I mean? To what groups do we belong? What categories people assign to us and we assign to ourselves? And there are a lot of them, really a lot. Let's start from bigger groups: ethnicity, race, nationality, citizenship, or like living in one country or not living in one country, being an immigrant or being a tourist or not being one of these categories. Basically, a lot of stuff that I covered in my video about ethnic definitions. It's a different video. But also smaller groups. You like reading books and there's like small book reading society in your city. You like to go to the parties, and each and every time when you are going to the party there are pretty much same people and you feel yourself belonging to that group. Or you are a cheerleader and each time when you go to the competition you see these people and you're like, my people, yeah! There are a lot of groups, a lot of categories that you can or cannot assign yourself to, or people can do it with you, or society can do it with you. But not always is this influence positive, at least in my experience. Sometimes you feel better when you are with people from the same group. You behave yourself more openly, more maybe confident, happier, funny maybe. But sometimes it is different. Sometimes you try to avoid people from the same group. Sometimes you think, they are talking the language that I know and I don't want to talk with people from the language that I know. That happened to me a couple of times with Russian in Germany. Let me give you an example, so I hope you will understand the topic better. For example, ethnicity minority groups, or also sometimes racial minority groups, but it is more the case for USA, for other countries not really. Anyway, minority ethnicity groups tend to gather themselves, tend to find a place where they all go together and they do stuff together and they are talking together, or maybe they even live together. Like the whole area, most of the people there are people from same ethnicity, which is not a majority in this country or in this city or in this place. And they are like everywhere in there, and in the shops you can find labels in 2 languages, in the main language and in the language of the area. It happens a lot. It's not only a USA phenomenon. Each and every freaking country I lived in or I visited, always you can find some area that is only or mainly inhabited by this specific ethnicity or this specific group. Sometimes it is just a social group. And people tend to do it, especially when people immigrate to a new country. A lot of people try to find people from the same group where they are from the same country, same kind of immigrants. Yes, sometimes it is enough to find immigrants overall. I found immigrants and that is good enough. But a lot of them were immigrants from specifically my country, other people from there too. In a contrast to this, which actually makes sense, majorities don't do that. Even this whole feeling of minorities, we need to go together, we need to fight together. If somebody fights us, everybody needs to fight back. Majorities don't usually do it. Sometimes they do, but not always. On a lot of occasions, majorities are like, we are majority, we are everywhere already, we don't need to have an extra place for us. Which actually kind of makes sense, doesn't matter what we are talking about ethnicity, race, LGBTQ stuff, for example. Like, it would be like non-cheerleader convention. So people who are not cheerleader gather themselves and are talking because they have common experience in some way. I know this comparison with non-cheerleaders versus cheerleaders doesn't make perfect sense for all of the examples, but sometimes it does. Like, you don't have any common experience to be categorized as a special group. So cheerleader kinda do have common experience. Non-cheerleader, like, we have experience of not being a cheerleader. Yay. Coming back to minorities and ethnic groups, people from minority and ethnic group tend to search for people from the same ethnic group when they are searching for different kind of specialists, like doctors, like gardeners, maybe some people who can repair stuff, and it is understandable. These people can maybe sometimes better understand them because there's less of a language barrier, or maybe they have same or similar values. And although it doesn't work always like that, it does make sense, because you can better trust a person, because you can better explain yourself, and the expectation that you have, the probability of them being fulfilled is higher. Not always 100%, because, for example, some of my Russian relatives come to Germany and they have some expectations about some procedures that they can ask for during the doctor visit. But no, the doctors here don't work similarly or don't work same as doctors in Russia, which is why not all the procedures that they expect they can get here. I hope you understand what I mean. Last example, which will lead to a bigger topic. If some person who is from the same social group or any kind of group that I am, if that person becomes famous or like big or achieves something big, then I feel myself, I can do it too. Because we are from the same group. We have some similar values when we are talking about some stuff. That person achieved it, then I can also achieve it. So, and basically the more people achieve that stuff, the highest probability that I can achieve that stuff. Which actually, to be honest with you, doesn't make sense when we are talking about that practically in terms of what you need to do in order to achieve that. A lot of that stuff like maybe doesn't have anything to do with you belonging to the same group. You can hope for that, and hope is a really great thing in order to achieve a lot of stuff, but if we are talking about being practical, that person achieving something is that person achieving something, and it's not you achieving something. And that leads me to this topic of representation. Does representation matter? Does it matter that a lot of people who are from the same group as I am, doesn't matter what group we are talking about, have achieved something and showed it to the world? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm still thinking about whether I agree with this opinion, so that it does matter, or I think it doesn't. On one hand, it was never important for me that any group is represented. I have some opinion that I want more people to share, that's true, but a lot of these opinions have nothing to do with some specific social group or some specific group. I just have experience of different groups, and together they brought this experience. Yury Experience. On the other hand, big chunk of this video was about people finding it important to have similarities with other people, with other parts of the group, and also, obviously, to have people from their group in high positions, in cool positions, in famous positions. That is why it is difficult for me to say no representation doesn't matter. I don't think that representation leads to like really a lot of good stuff, but to say it is not important as it doesn't bring anything at all, it would be wrong in my personal opinion. However, overall, I genuinely don't care so much. Because again, I don't care personally about representation, that is why I don't care about the topic overall so much. But what I'm against of people like pushing representation all over the stuff. So they have to create representation. And we see it all over the world right now, in different industries, in movies, in different companies and politics, for example. There are a lot of pushing for more representation without thinking, does it even make sense? Does it even make sense to make these people work in there? Or will these people just be token people? Yes, we have this person of this ethnic group in our company. We have it. And that's all. That person is actually not good educated enough for that position, so that person will lose this position in 1 month, and then we will get another person for the same position, also from with ethnic background, and like that person will also not be educated enough because there are just not much interest of people from that specific ethnic group, because there are not so many people from that specific ethnic group in our country. So yes, we will just push for that until we die, each month with a new person, because it makes sense. And the most absurd thing is when this person from the group that is maybe even qualified to get the job, to get the position, that person gets the position, but because of this whole idea that now we need to push these people from this group to this position, because of this idea, all the other people have the stereotype that person only gets that position because of the card. That person has a group card. That person is belonging to that group. It doesn't matter what actual knowledge that person has, experience, whatnot. That person has a card, so that person used the card. Maybe that person is smarter than the half of a company. But it doesn't matter. That person only used the card. That person is actually stupid or whatnot. Which leads to the fact it is counterproductive. That person achieved everything with their own might. But society thinks about that person as a lazy person with the group card. Because politics are like that. Yay! Which is why I'm not really against representation. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's create representation. Let's help people from different backgrounds, different groups to achieve different stuff and also achieve something big. But not through pushing, not through must, not through dividing basically groups, or through creating the same discrimination that was basically pushed on this group, just doing for the other group. So we will ignore this group because now we're looking into this group. Like, great. Like, it's practically the same stuff, only in different color. And also it creates tension between two groups, because this group doesn't have job because of its appearance, maybe, or maybe some like background, or maybe some ancestry, or sex, or gender. We don't get it, and they do get it. They are bad people because they get it, because we are good people, obviously. That creates tension, and it shall not be the target. It shall not be the target of this work towards representation, to create tension between different groups, to create, I don't know, to create more problems than you create solutions. But that's my opinion. Overall, I do agree that we behave ourselves differently depending on the group we are in, depending on the group we belong to, and depending on the context. There are actually a hell lot of factors. But I don't think it shall be a reason to push for some like rules which ignore the common sense. But maybe my common sense is not a real common sense, and maybe I just don't understand something. That is possible too. So if you have something to share that will clear my mind up, again, I don't really have a great opinion on this point, write it in the comments. You can also subscribe to the channel, you can also press the like button, and I wish you a great weekend. I see you on Monday.